Question 1. Isis Hassan is a senior security analyst at a multinational bank. During a targeted phishing campaign, she notices her legitimate business partner's emails are being flagged and blocked due to a known malware indicator in one of their shared spreadsheets. The executives demand immediate access to the file to meet a regulatory deadline. Isis Hassan considers creating an exception rule for the sender and file type. What should Isis Hassan do to balance security and operational needs? A. Apply a global exception for the sender's domain across all security gateways. B. Create granular exception for the specific file hash and only apply it to the relevant policy layer. C. Disable threat extraction temporarily for spreadsheet files to allow delivery. D. Remove the antivirus blade from the policy package temporarily. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Creating a granular exception scoped to a specific file hash and limited to a particular policy layer maintains the integrity of the threat prevention posture while allowing business continuity. This follows Checkpoint's best practices and threat prevention exception rules guidelines. Applying global exception or disabling blades opens up broader attack surfaces and contradicts principle of least privilege NIST SP 0053 AC6. Temporary blade deactivation or global exceptions are overpermissive and can result in compliance failures or lateral threat propagation. Question 2. In light of recent developments in AI-driven malware, it is crucial to understand the roles and interplay between Checkpoint's threat prevention blades. Which of the following statements best represents how the blades operate together in a coordinated fashion to mitigate threats? A. Threat emulation and threat extraction always override antivirus actions when analyzing file attachments. B. Antibot only runs if the file passes threat emulation with no detection. C. Threat extraction sanitizes files for delivery, while threat emulation works asynchronously to identify unknown malware. D. Antivirus and antibot must be configured on the same policy layer as threat cloud integration to function. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Threat extraction performs real-time content disarm and reconstruction (CDR), delivering sanitized versions immediately. Threat emulation works asynchronously to emulate suspicious files in a sandbox. This approach reduces latency and aligns with Checkpoint's threat prevention architecture as documented in the R.10 Threat Prevention Administration Guide. Option A is incorrect since blades work in parallel, not hierarchically. Option B misrepresents the trigger logic for anti-bot. Option D falsely links threat cloud to single policy layer dependency. Question 3. Is Patel responsible for managing a cluster of Checkpoint gateways at a regional data center? After enabling threat prevention blades, the latency for email file downloads increased, resulting in user complaints. She needs to improve performance without compromising malware detection. Which of the following actions should she take? A. Disable threat emulation for all PDF files. B. Adjust threat extraction to only sanitize content from unknown senders. C. Bypass threat prevention on all internal traffic. D. Change threat emulation to run in a hold mode for maximum analysis time. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Optimizing threat extraction to trigger only for unknown senders leverages risk-based conditional filtering. This approach complies with Checkpoint's best practices for gateway optimization and improves performance while maintaining security. Disabling blades A or bypassing internal traffic C introduces risk. Switching to hold mode D increases latency further and is counterproductive in performance contexts. Question 4. One might argue that the ability to restore original files from sanitized content contradicts the principle of preventive security. Which of the following best describes how Checkpoint handles original file retrieval in threat extraction? A. Original files are stored locally on the client endpoint for immediate recovery. B. Original files are never retained to comply with data minimization standards. C. Original files can be downloaded securely from a link in the email if allowed by policy. D. The system requires user authentication before original file restoration can be enabled. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Checkpoint supports original file retrieval via a COHES link embedded in the email controlled by policy. This is in alignment with threat extraction policy options and data protection regulations. The GDPR Article 5, data minimization. Option A is incorrect as local storage is not secure. Option B misrepresents the retention feature. Option D is not a mandatory step unless additional access controls are configured. Question 5. As illustrated by frequent audit findings in enterprises, overly permissive policies reduce the efficacy of threat prevention systems. Which of the following is the most appropriate step when optimizing an existing threat prevention policy? A. Merge all profiles into a single global profile for consistency. B. Remove all exceptions that no longer apply and segment profiles by zone. C. Convert all rules into application-based rules only. D. Create an exception that allows all traffic from internal apps. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Optimizing policy means aligning it with evolving network needs. Removing outdated exceptions and segmenting policies by network zone enables contextual security while reducing false positives. This aligns with Checkpoint's policy tuning guidance and the CIS benchmark for network devices. Options A and C reduce granularity and may lead to blind spots. Option D violates zero trust architecture principles. Question 6. When considering the importance of global threat intelligence, integrating Checkpoint's threat cloud is essential for real-time defense. Which of the following describes the most effective use of threat cloud? A. Configure gateways to update only after a manual push to minimize bandwidth usage. B. Use threat cloud's dynamic feeds for zero-day protection and malware classification. C. Enable logging-only mode to reduce false positives during the learning phase. D. Disconnect from threat cloud and rely on offline signatures for internal security. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Threat Cloud provides dynamic, cloud-delivered intelligence that supports zero-day protection, malware categorization, URL filtering. This allows Checkpoint gateways to receive real-time updates. Checkpoint recommends always keeping Threat Cloud connected. R.10 Threat Prevention Admin Guide. Manual updates A. Introduce latency. Logging-only mode. C. Is useful for tuning, not defense. Option D. Greatly reduces protection and is against best practices. Question 7. Is Chen, a threat researcher at a SOS company, is analyzing an advanced persistent threat using Checkpoint's threat emulation. She wants to identify polymorphic malware samples using behavior rather than static signatures. Which feature should she rely on to detect such threats? A. Threat extraction's heuristic signature match. B. Threat emulation's virtual sandbox behavior analysis. C. Antibot's command and control IP list comparison. D. Antivirus file hash reputation scoring. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Threat emulation uses sandbox-based behavioral analysis to detect malware that evades signature-based tools, especially polymorphic and zero-day variants. This aligns with Checkpoint's advanced threat prevention capabilities. Options A, C, and D depend on signatures or static databases, which are ineffective against polymorphic malware that dynamically alters code. Question 8. As a result of managing hundreds of security gateways, an enterprise wants to unify threat policy management. Which of the following capabilities of Smart Console supports centralized threat prevention control? A. Individual firewall GUI configuration for each blade. B. Smart event-only configuration of threat prevention policy. C. Centralized policy layers for all blades through Smart Console. D. Gateway-specific management through CLI per threat vector. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Smart Console provides centralized management via unified policy layers, enabling streamlined configuration across all threat prevention blades. This capability ensures consistency and scalability and is documented in the Checkpoint Smart Console R.10 admin guide. CLI D and Smart Event B are supplementary tools, not the main management platforms. Option A increases operational complexity and is inefficient. Question 9. Istidua, a cyber threat hunter, wants to block an emerging phishing domain that is not yet detected by default feeds. His organization requires immediate action before a global signature is released. Which action should Istidua take? A. Enable only DS-based detection for zero-day attacks. B. Create a custom intelligence feed using JSON format. C. Use threat emulation to mimic threat intelligence updates. D. Rely solely on IPS signatures from previous updates. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Checkpoint allows creation and import of custom intelligence feeds using JSON or CSV to define new malicious indicators, IPS domains, URLs. This allows proactive blocking and is part of custom intelligence feed management. DR-based detection A is insufficient alone. Threat emulation C cannot create threat intelligence updates. Reliance on outdated IPS signatures D delays response to attacks. Question 10. As illustrated by modern DevSecOps workflows, threat prevention must be automatable to keep pace with cloud-native applications. What is the most appropriate way to use Checkpoint BIS for automating threat prevention tasks? A. Schedule daily CSV exports of logs via Smart Event. B. Use the Management API to create and apply threat prevention profiles programmatically. C. Limit automation to firewall rule changes only. D. Use CLI exclusively for scripting policy pushes to gateways. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Checkpoint Management API supports creation and deployment of threat prevention profiles and policies aligning with SICT pipelines and automation goals. This is explained in the Checkpoint API Reference and Automation Guide. Option A lacks policy control. Option C and D ignore broader capabilities and are less scalable and flexible than using the API. Question 11. Octaschmidt, a CISO at a fintech firm, receives alerts about a sudden surge in command and control traffic. The security team identifies affected endpoints, but the threat remains active. Which steps should be taken immediately as part of the incident response? A. Disable all threat prevention blades to identify the source. B. Remove all outbound traffic rules from the firewall. C. Isolate infected hosts and enable anti-bot enforcement. D. Perform a complete policy reset across the organization. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Effective incident response starts with isolation and containment, enabling anti-bot enforcement blocks CC traffic and is critical per Checkpoint's incident response guidelines. Disabling prevention A or resetting policies. D. Introduces more risk. Removing all outbound traffic. B. Is impractical and affects business continuity. Question 12. Isis Alvarez leads the security team at a manufacturing company. Recently, her team noticed fileless malware infiltrating systems through malicious scripts embedded in Office documents. What should she enable to most effectively prevent this attack vector? A. Anti-bot scanning for active sessions. B. Threat extraction to sanitize the document content. C. Firewall block rules for known fileless malware. D. IPS signature updates focused on script obfuscation. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Fileless malware embedded in document macros or scripts can be neutralized by threat extraction, which removes active content, macros, scripts from documents. This aligns with Checkpoint CDR approach. Anti-bot A is post-infection detection. Firewall C and IPS D are less effective before execution. Question 13. The core principles of threat detection rely on interpreting security logs to identify new threat vectors. Which of the following best demonstrates effective threat analysis? A. Reviewing only antivirus logs weekly for anomalies. B. Creating a smart event correlation rule for lateral movement patterns. C. Manually searching access logs for every internal user. D. Disabling all logging to improve performance. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Creating smart event correlation rules allows real-time detection of behavioral anomalies such as lateral movement, which is crucial in threat hunting. This supports proactive analysis and is recommended in Checkpoint Smart Event Admin Guide. Options A and C are incomplete and inefficient. Option D undermines threat visibility. Question 14. Nakamura is asked to evaluate a company's readiness against modern malware threats. She is tasked with performing a comprehensive security posture assessment using Checkpoint tools. Which tool or feature should she use? A. Smart Update to verify software licenses. B. Threat Prevention Policy Analyzer to identify coverage gaps. C. Gaia WebUI to check firewall performance only. D. Packet capture tool to inspect non-malicious traffic. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The Threat Prevention Policy Analyzer checks policy coverage against evolving threats and compliance baselines. It's ideal for assessing readiness and is component of Checkpoint Infinity Threat Prevention. Smart Update A. Manages licenses. Gaia WebUI C. Is limited to a level status. Packet tools D. Are not posture assessment tools. Question 15. Mr. Okafor, a junior security engineer, accidentally enabled threat emulation without proper network configuration. After deployment, file downloads failed across all branches. What configuration step did he likely miss? A. Setting correct DNS forwarders. B. Enabling port forwarding on NAT devices. C. Defining the emulation mode as a background or hold. D. Installing Smart Update threat prevention licenses. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Defining the emulation mode determines whether file delivery waits for sandbox analysis, hold, or continues with monitoring a background. Not configuring this causes operational failures. DNSA and port forwarding. B. Are secondary issues. Smart Update licenses. D. Are prerequisites but wouldn't cause immediate failure post-deployment. Question 16. The evolution of sandboxing has significantly changed how modern threat prevention detects unknown malware, which best describes the approach taken by Checkpoint's threat emulation blade. A. It uses static signatures to scan files in real time. B. It forwards files to the threat cloud sandbox for dynamic behavioral analysis. C. It only compares file hashes with existing malware databases. D. It prevents file transfer until manual administrator approval is granted. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Threat emulation forwards potentially malicious files to a cloud-based or on-premises sandbox analyzing behavior in isolated environments. This dynamic analysis is essential for identifying zero-day and polymorphic malware. It's compliant with the Checkpoint R.10 Threat Prevention Admin Guide. Options A and C refer to static detection mechanisms used in AVIPs, and D describes manual workflow not inherent to threat emulation. Question 17. Isis Hassan, an enterprise security engineer, receives complaints that document delivery is delayed due to full content sanitization. Her organization wants sanitized documents quickly without losing critical formatting or structure. What is the most appropriate configuration adjustment she should make? A. Change extraction mode to convert PDF and set sanitization only for high-risk file types. B. Disable threat extraction for all Office files. C. Set threat emulation to run before extraction. D. Remove threat prevention from the email inspection policy. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. Threat extraction can be customized by modifying sanitization scope and output formats, like converting to PDF. These changes reduce latency and maintain document usability. Full deactivation. B. D. Removes critical protection. Threat emulation before extraction. C. Is not standard workflow and delays delivery unnecessary. Question 18. As a result of rapidly evolving botnet behaviors, anti-bot solutions must move beyond static signature-based detection. Which of the following describes a core feature of Checkpoint's anti-bot blade? A. Detects malware using SHA-file hash comparisons only. B. Identifies outbound connections to known command and control servers. C. Functions only when malware is embedded in executable attachments. D. Blocks all fileless malware using sandboxing. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Anti-bot inspects outbound traffic for known command and control CC communications, allowing detection even when the initial infection is missed. This aligns with MITRE framework. Command and control, file hash-based AV executable-only logic C and sandboxing D fall under different blades. Question 19. Is Patel a SOC analyst, wants to quickly detect anomalies such as unexpected traffic spikes or suspicious user behavior. She needs real-time visibility and correlation of events across all gateways. Which Checkpoint feature should she rely on? A. Smart log with scheduled daily exports. B. Smart Event Real-Time Correlation Engine. C. CLI-based log parser script. D. External SIEM integration only. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Smart Event provides real-time event correlation, allowing detection of patterns like lateral movement, brute force attempts, or anomalous login times. It's built into Checkpoint's ecosystem and integrates with logs from multiple blades. Smart Log A is read-only. CLI scripts C and SIEM-D require extra tooling and are not real-time. Question 20. During the process of deploying threat prevention, a junior engineer forgets to enable DNS resolution on the gateway. What is the likely impact of this misconfiguration? A. The anti-bot blade cannot resolve CC domains and may miss threats. B. Threat extraction fails to remove malicious macros. C. The threat prevention policy becomes invalid. D. Smart Console cannot push any policy to the firewall. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. Antibot relies on DNS queries to detect communication with known malicious domains. If DNS is not configured, detection is incomplete. Extraction B is unrelated. C is incorrect. Policy validity isn't tied to DNS. D affects management but not threat prevention specifically. Question 21. Mr. Johnson, a network security architect, notices a misalignment between the IPS policy and threat prevention profiles applied to different zones. Which approach is best for managing such complexity? A. Merge all blades into a single profile and apply it globally. B. Use different threat prevention profiles tailored to network segments. C. Only apply threat prevention to perimeter firewalls. D. Create exceptions to override policy misalignment. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Checkpoint supports multiple profiles that can be assigned by zone, application, or user group, offering fine-grained control. This best practice is outlined in the Threat Prevention Profile Management Guide. A global profile A reduces flexibility, limiting to perimeter firewalls. C exposes internal threats. Exceptions D are case-specific, not a structural solution. Question 22. Contrary to popular belief, using strict threat prevention profiles everywhere does not always yield better protection. Why should organizations configure multiple profiles for different security zones? A. To reduce CPU usage by deactivating antivirus completely. B. To disable logging in low-risk zones. C. To align protection levels with network context and risk exposure. D. To ensure all zones receive the same protections. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Different zones. E. G. DMZ internal. Guests have different risk levels and business functions. Assigning tailored profiles improves effectiveness and performance. A principle backed by zero trust architecture and checkpoint segmentation guidelines. A and B. Reduce visibility. D is contrary to risk-based policy management. Question 23. Is Nakamura observes that a legitimate financial application is consistently blocked by threat prevention. Which of the following is the best way to maintain protection while allowing the application? A. Disable the threat prevention blade. B. A global exclusion for all financial traffic. C. Create a rule-based exception for the application's hash or traffic signature. D. Allow all alternate keys traffic to proceed unchecked. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Creating rule-based exceptions scoped to specific applications, traffic patterns, or file hashes is recommended. It prevents false positives while preserving overall posture. Global exclusions. B. HES access. D. And disabling the blade. A. Weaken security and violate least privilege principles. Question 24. During a major policy update, Mr. Okafor finds that after enabling threat emulation, users report delays in email delivery. He needs to identify the root cause. Which tool or method should he use first? A. SmartLog to analyze real-time delivery logs. B. Wireshark on the endpoint. C. Extol SAEP relay debug logs. D. Disable the blade to test speed. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. SmartLog provides immediate visibility into threat prevention actions, including delays caused by hold, mode, or emulation errors. Wireshark. B is endpoint level and lacks policy context. SAP logs. C are limited. Disabling blades. D is not advised for diagnosis. Question 25. Are demonstrated by recent ransomware attacks, lateral movement and privilege escalation often precede encryption. Which of the following best helps detect such behavior using checkpoint tools? A. IPS protection for brute force and exploit attempts. B. Threat extraction for removing macros. C. Antivirus scanning of outbound traffic only. D. Log export to Excel for manual sorting. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. IPS protections detect network-based exploits and brute force behaviors essential for early ransomware detection. Extraction. B is preemptive but not related to behavior. Of outbound scanning. C is narrow. Manual Excel review. D is inefficient. Checkpoint recommends enabling relevant IPS protections and correlation rules to catch lateral movement. MIDET. Question 26. Given the circumstances, Mr. Benedetti, a senior security analyst at a financial firm, notices that his checkpoint gateway is showing performance degradation during peak hours. After a detailed review, he finds that the threat prevention blades are consuming excessive resources due to multiple concurrent file emulations triggered by email attachments. The firm cannot afford delays in communication but still needs strong protection. What is the most appropriate approach Mr. Benedetti should take? A. Increase the file size threshold for threat emulation to reduce workload. B. Disable threat emulation during business hours and re-enable it at night. C. Implement threat extraction for common file types and redirect only suspicious files to emulation. D. Move threat emulation to a standalone device and remove it from the gateway. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The correct approach is to use threat extraction for known benign files and only redirect suspicious or unknown files to threat emulation. This reduces load on the emulation engine while maintaining protection. Disabling the blade, option B, or offloading entirely, option D, may increase risk or require additional infrastructure. Raising file size thresholds, option A, could miss large malicious payloads. This aligns with checkpoint best practices for threat prevention tuning and performance optimization guidance from official documentation. Question 27. Throughout the course of API integration into their automation pipeline, Isa Adesanya, DevSecOps lead, wants to ensure that her team can programmatically retrieve the status of threat emulation scans performed on files sent by email. She plans to integrate this feature into their system for automatic alerting. Which checkpoint resource should she leverage? A. Use the Smartiv and GUI to extract emulation logs manually. B. Use the Threat Emulation API with a query to the emulation status endpoint. C. Configure syslog forwarding and pass the output in the SICT system. D. Rely on smart dashboard reports generated weekly for integration. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The Threat Emulation API provides endpoints to query emulation results, retrieve reports, and monitor status programmatically. This supports DevSecOps automation and continuous integration needs. Manual methods like Smart Event A or Smart Dashboard D are not automated. Syslog parsing C is less reliable and not tailored to emulation data structure reference. Checkpoint R Prevention API Guide. Question 20. In a modern context of file security, Isterizol wants to ensure that users receive files almost instantly while still ensuring they are safe from malware. He's exploring the option of file desanitization for users who request original versions of files that were previously sanitized through threat extraction. What key risk must he mitigate when enabling this feature? A. Users may delete the sanitized version permanently. B. The original file may still contain malicious payloads not yet detected. C. The desanitized file cannot be logged or traced. D. The desanitization process may cause performance degradation. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Desanitization allows access to the original unaltered version of a file. If malware signatures were not known at the time of extraction, the original file could still pose a risk. This must be mitigated using threat emulation before release. Desanitization must be tightly controlled via user permissions and logging policies as per Checkpoint's Threat Extraction Administration Guide. Performance impact D is minimal. Logging is available. C. Question 29. By evaluating behavioral analysis within threat emulation, Istochipizo is comparing it to static analysis techniques used in traditional antivirus software. Which advantage does behavioral analysis provide that static analysis does not? A. It scans for known virus signatures in files. B. It provides faster results than all other analysis methods. C. It observes the runtime behavior of a file in a sandbox environment. D. It checks file extensions against a malicious database. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Behavioral analysis observes the real-time execution of files in a virtual sandbox, identifying threats based on what the file does, not just what it contains. This allows detection of zero-day threats, polymorphic malware, and behavior-triggered exploits. Static analysis option and D relies on known signatures and file properties. Although effective, it cannot detect previously unknown threats. Documented in Threat Emulation Architecture White Paper by Check Point. Question 30. The most significant aspect of Threat Cloud integration is its ability to leverage a shared intelligence network. Dr. H. Wang is analyzing the benefits of enabling Threat Cloud for her Check Point gateways across multiple regions. Which of the following best explains the core benefit of using Threat Cloud? A. It allows for centralized firewall rule editing across all gateways. B. It shares malware and threat data globally, improving detection accuracy. C. It disables sandboxing to conserve local gateway resources. D. It enforces bandwidth throttling for external connections. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Threat Cloud integration enables gateways to access up-to-date threat intelligence, including malware hashes, botnet data, and behavioral indicators. This enhances the ability to detect emerging threats in real time. It does not manage firewall rules, nor does it disable sandboxing. C. Bandwidth throttling. D is unrelated. Check Point's Threat Cloud Services overview highlights these benefits for multi-region deployments.